Hey there! Let's talk about something we all have in common. Waste. Every single one of us creates it, every single day. But what actually happens after we toss something out? Well, it turns out there's this whole fascinating science to making sense of our giant collective mountain of trash. And believe it or not, it all starts with one simple but powerful idea.
I mean, just think about it for a second. The sheer variety of stuff we throw away is kind of mind-boggling, right? Everything from a tiny apple core to a massive broken-down refrigerator. So how on earth can our cities or industries or even just you and me manage all of that effectively? How do you take all that chaos and turn it into a system that actually works?
And right there, that's the secret. That's the key. Before you can recycle something, before you can treat it, or even just safely get rid of it, you first have to know exactly what it is. So the first, most critical step in the entire world of waste management is classification. It's how we bring order to all that chaos.
Okay, so let's dive into how the pros do it. They basically simplify this huge problem by looking at every single piece of waste through two main lenses. Think of it like a pair of special glasses. The first lens asks, where did this come from? We call that source-based classification. And the second lens asks, what's this thing actually made of? That's type-based classification. Let's break them both down.
All right, first up, the source. This is all about playing detective, really. We're tracing that piece of trash back to its origin story. The question we're asking is super simple. Where does it come from?
So the source material breaks this down into 7 major categories. You've got residential waste, which is all the stuff from our homes and apartments. Then there's commercial waste, think stores, hotels, restaurants. Institutional waste, that comes from places like schools and government buildings. Municipal waste covers things like street sweepings or construction debris. Industrial is from factories and manufacturing. Agricultural, of course, is from farms. And finally, you have open areas, which is pretty much what it sounds like. Trash from parks, beaches, and highways. See, each source kind of tells its own story.
Okay, so that's our first lens. Now let's put on the second one, type-based classification. If source tells us the where, then type tells us the what. What is this stuff really? What's its physical and chemical makeup?
In this approach, it gives us a completely different set of labels. Now we're talking about things like garbage, ashes, bulky wastes, or we're asking if something is biodegradable or not, and really importantly, whether it's hazardous. Let's zoom in on a couple of these to see what they mean.
For instance, the word garbage. We use it as a catch-all for trash, but in this system it has a very specific meaning. It's only talking about animal and vegetable wastes from food. So leftover dinner, veggie peels, all that organic stuff from our kitchens. That's garbage. And then you've got bulky wastes. This one's pretty easy to picture. We're talking about the big stuff, the things that are never going to fit in your regular trash bin. Old washing machines, that couch you're getting rid of, even big tree branches. These things need special handling just because of their size.
Now, this brings us to an absolutely critical category, hazardous wastes. This is probably one of the most important classifications, period. Why? Because it flags materials that are actually dangerous. Whether it's from a factory, a hospital, or even from under our own kitchen sinks, this is the stuff that can pose a real threat and needs to be managed with extreme care.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. Let's say you have a plastic water bottle that someone threw out in an office building. How do you classify it? Is it commercial waste because of where it came from? Or is it non-biodegradable waste because of what it's made of? Which lens do you use?
And the answer, of course, is both. That's the big aha moment. These two systems, they're not separate choices. They work together. Every single item we throw away has a dual identity. It has an origin story, its source, and it has a material identity, its type.
And this table is where you can really see it all click into place. So, those food scraps from your kitchen? By source, they're residential. By type, they're garbage and biodegradable. What about some old paper from an office? Well, that's institutional by source and combustible by type. This two-part ID gives waste managers the full picture they need to handle everything the right way.
So, why do we go through all this trouble? Why bother giving our trash a first and last name? Well, it's because this careful sorting is what lets us go from just having a pile of waste to actually managing it. This is the bridge that takes us from just looking at trash to taking action.
Yeah, the crucial point here is that this is so much more than just a vocabulary lesson. Knowing the source and the type of waste is the fundamental building block for everything that happens next. It's literally the blueprint for the entire waste management system.
When we classify waste correctly, suddenly we can do all sorts of smart things.
We can design recycling programs that actually work. We can separate out materials and turn them into new resources, or even convert some waste into energy. And most importantly, we can identify those hazardous materials and dispose of them safely, protecting our health and the environment. Without classification, we're basically just flying blind.
So, the next time you go to throw something away, just pause for a second. Think about its two identities. Where is it from, and what's it made of? Now that you can see waste through the eyes of an expert, how might that change the kind of waste you choose to create in the first place? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.